Yo, what up? It's Food for Thought Thursday. We're in the month of love. So today we're going to be talking about lazy love. I think that we have watered down the definition and the meaning of love when it comes to our relationships, our intimate relationships, and our relationships with our friends. We have taken the definition of love and acted out in it, but in a lazy way. So I was reading 1 Corinthians 13, and while reading, I was like, man, do I even love like this anymore? Does anybody love like this anymore? Or am I taking a full approach to loving people the way that it's defined in this verse? And so I'm going to read the definition, and we'll talk about it after. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable and keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, endures through every circumstance. So obviously that definition is heavy, and it's patient. How patient are we when somebody that we love wrongs us or says something that we don't like? How kind are we, not just to our friends, but to strangers? Do we often get jealous? And we talked about jealousy last week. Do we boast about our own winnings? Or do we boast about things that we have done? Or do we boast about the things that Christ has done for us? Are we rude? Do we demand our own way? Do we only say, hey, no, my way or the highway? Or do we invite other people to add in their opinion? How many times have you kept a record of being wrong? So when somebody you love and say, well, you did this to me last week, you did that, how often do we do that? Do we get irritable? I think one of the biggest words that we use now is irritated. Oh, I'm irritated. Do we get irritable with the people that we love? Do you rejoice when there's injustices, or do you rejoice when the truth wins out? How often do you give up? How often do people give up on relationships nowadays? Not just marriages or just boyfriend and girlfriend, or give up on your team and give up on a game. Like, you love the game, you say you love it, but do you give up when something doesn't go your way, when you might not be winning, your team's not doing the best? Do you give up? Never loses faith. This is one thing that I think is really big, because if you say you love Christ, you'll never lose faith, because you will always remain faithful even when the going gets tough, because the going will get tough. The whole point is to not give up. And then the verse right before that says love never gives up, never loses faith. So we can just stick with those two verses and say, am I never giving up? Am I loving people through the end? When the going gets tough, am I going to give up on this relationship? Am I going to give up on this friendship? Or does it mean that much to you in order to press on to the end? Am I going to stay faithful not only to myself or to my spouse, but to Christ? It's always hopeful. That right there is the optimist's dream. Hopeful. You're pumped. You're always willing to do whatever, because you know that something better is going to come out on the other end. Endures every circumstance. So for all those athletes out there, we should know what endurance is, not just when it comes to running, but we know that every single day you're going to have to endure some type of pain, and love endures every circumstance. So breaking down this definition of love, can we say that we really love? Or every day are we not really being patient because today we choose not to be? Are we going to be rude to somebody just because we're not really feeling good? Are we going to be jealous? Are we going to boast? Are we going to be proud of our own selves? Are we just going to be rude to other people? Are we going to demand our own way when we want something and we feel like we're in a position of leadership, that we're just going to want it my way and I'm not going to listen to anybody else? Are we going to keep a record of all the things that somebody has done to us? Are we gonna rejoice when lies went out, or when injustices went out? Or are we gonna step up and be like, yes, there's the truth, I'm riding with the truth all day long? Are we gonna give up and say, you know what, it doesn't really matter? Or are we gonna go, are we never going to lose faith and say, it's too hard to have faith today, it's too hard to be hopeful today? And are we going to give up through all the circumstances that may be hard? Life is going to get tough, but this is where we can't allow ourselves to be lazy. There's a verse in Proverbs where it talks about the lazy won't even lift up their own hand to feed themselves. The lazy will toss and turn in their bed. They won't even do anything for themselves. Being lazy will not get you anywhere. So if we decide to love lazy, our relationships will never grow. Our relationships with our spouse, or with our teammates, or with our parents, or with anybody, it'll never grow because we want to be lazy in our actions. And we know that the lazy will never win out. Lazy people do not reach success. Lazy people always want to cut the corners, but in the end, they'll never be a full slice. So we got to step up and learn to not be lazy when it comes to our love, because the people in our lives, they deserve more than that, and you deserve more than that, and God deserves more than that. So don't allow yourself to be lazy in your actions. Don't allow yourself to sell yourself short. I want to challenge everybody to read this verse every day, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. And hold yourself to this standard every day. I don't know if you need to write it in your phone, write it on a sticky pad, or whatever it is, but when you go out there, I want you to say, okay, was I being patient today? Was I being kind today? Did I act jealous? Did I boast? Was I proud? And I'll hold myself to this standard. I know that there's times where I am lazy when it comes to love, when it comes to my relationship with my best friends or my parents, that I don't always act in the best ways, but now I want to hold myself to a higher standard. And again, I want to drop down to verse 7. Love never gives up. So there will be times when you're not going to do your best, but if that person that you're trying to love is holding themselves to the same standard, then you will both realize, okay, we're not at our best right now, but we're not going to give up. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to endure through all these circumstances, and we're going to try. Another thing about this lazy love is being intentional. You can't love like this on accident because it's too tough. And that's the reason why we've began to love lazy, because this definition is too tough. And so if we intentionally every single day step up in every single person, every single relationship, and say, all right, I'm going to love, I'm going to be patient, I'm going to be kind, whether it's with my teacher, somebody that I don't know, or whether it's my boyfriend, my best friend, whoever it is, I'm going to intentionally be great in this relationship. I'm going to intentionally love out. So I'm calling us to intentionally love, as 1 Corinthians 13:4 says, instead of being lazy in shorting and watering down the definition of love. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, God loves us this way. Because I know I mess up every single day, but yet He's still patient, yet He's still kind. He's a jealous God, but because that's when I'm messing up, that He doesn't like for me to have other gods before Him. He doesn't keep a record of my wrongs, because the second I ask for forgiveness, He throws it. And so if God can love me this way, then I should be able to step up and try to love other people that way. God never gives up, and He never loses faith in me. He's always hopeful, and He will be there through every circumstance. And so if you need an example of what it's like for somebody to love this way, just look at the way that God loves you. And if you don't know the love of God, I encourage you to seek it and find it, because it's the best love, and He wrote this definition. And so with Him being who He is, I don't believe He would write it if He didn't live up to it. And I know personally in my life that He's lived up to every single thing that He said. So, okay, Food for Thought Thursday. Let's not be lazy in the way that we love. Let's step up and love our people right, because they deserve it, you deserve it, and God deserves it. Make sure you catch up with me next week. Valentine's Day, we'll be talking about relationships. You don't want to miss it. I love you. Peace.